Good morning. I started talking on Friday at the boardwalk at Seaside Heights about how this week we're entering into a new rebuilding phase post-Hurricane Sandy. And after 2 weeks in the recovery phase, we've achieved a new normal for life in post-Hurricane Sandy, New Jersey. Now, let's go through the phases that I'm sure you're all sick of hearing about how we define normal in the state. First, on power. We've almost completely hit our target of Sunday to have everyone back up with power. We're at less than 1,000 customers now across the state that don't have power. And let me be specific with all of you so that folks who are listening out there know what we're talking about. PSE&G, the only counties left where they have folks without power is about 150 families in Middlesex County, about 48 families in Somerset County, and 150 in Union County. Otherwise, power should be up. Now, if you're a PSE&G customer and you're saying, hey, wait a second, I'm in Burlington County, I don't have power, call PSE&G. There are going to be outages, just like now these are kind of normal outages that you'll have that are exacerbated by the storm. When your power goes out normally, you pick up the phone and you call PSE&G and you report your power outage. Do that now. If you're in one of those counties and you have PSE&G and you say, wait a second, governor said I don't have any outages, but I'm out, pick up the phone and call PSE&G, and this will now be handled in the normal course, although we still have thousands of utility workers that we're keeping here to do what we would call the cleanup of some of these small pockets of folks. The JCP&L, I'm going to do a town by town, show you the towns that at least as of 9:30 this morning still had small pockets of outages. And by small pockets, I mean in each one of these towns, you're talking about no more than 175 customers, and with most of them, it's less than that, okay? Milburn Township, 85 customers. Delaware Township in Hunterdon County, 71 customers. East Amwell Township in Hunterdon, 59 customers. Holland Township in Hunterdon, 95 customers. Kingwood Township in Hunterdon, 72 customers. Tewksbury Township in Hunterdon, 89 customers. Jefferson Township in Morris County, 88 customers. Rockaway Township in Morris County, 88 customers. Washington Township, Morris County, known affectionately by those of us who live near it as Long Valley, that's 137 customers. West Milford Township in Passaic County, 164 customers. And in Somerset County, the areas of Bedminster, 78 customers, Bernards Township, 97, and Bernardsville, 162. Warren Township in Somerset County, 83 customers. Sparta Township in Sussex County, 97, and Stanhope Borough in Sussex County, 50. So, if you are in the JCP&L service area and you didn't hear me name your town and your power is out, call JCP&L. And they will get folks out there right away to restore your power and see what the problem is. But I want to keep this in perspective now. You're talking about less than 1,000 folks in those towns across the state without power. We started this on Tuesday morning with 2.76 million customers without power. And we added about another 300,000 to that from the nor'easter. So there were over 3 million customers with outages, and within 13 days, all those folks are back on power with the exception of these 1,000 or so customers. People are back to normal in terms of the power in their homes and their businesses across New Jersey. Fuel. We've seen thousands of gallons of fuel quickly delivered to the state, thanks to FEMA, the National Guard, Department of Defense. With their help, we've dispersed it to priority locations, whether it was gas stations or generators for key facilities. We were never in need of fuel, and the odd-even system that is now in effect has resulted in a dramatic decrease in lines at gas stations across the state. If you need gas, you can get it. And as a result of this and the power the power restoration, we will end odd-even gas distribution in the 12 northern counties in New Jersey starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, we will lift odd-even for the 12 northern counties and go back to normal system in New Jersey. And you'll note that I think our early imposition of this cut down on the lines, the aggravation, the potential for violence, and others have now followed suit in going to the odd-even system. I think it was the right thing to do at the time. I think it lowered anxiety in the state, and in fact, it helped to make a more orderly system for people who really needed the fuel for their generators or for their cars to get their fuel. Schools. We've made huge strides over last week. As of tomorrow morning, 98% of New Jersey schools will be open and operating, and 96% of the districts in the state will be open and operating. Where you'll see schools not open are those that were most severely damaged or destroyed by the hurricane. That will be mostly in Monmouth and Ocean County, although there are some pockets in Bergen and Passaic as well. Clean water. We've resolved most of our water issues, with the main community still of concern on the barrier islands. DEP is disseminating notices to Ocean County residents on the barrier islands to not consume water and avoid flushing and use of water systems as they make visits to the barrier islands over the next few days. The communities that should be covered by this are as follows: Chadwick Beach, Lavalette, Maniloking, Seaside Heights, Seaside Park, South Seaside Park, Pelican Island, Brick, Toms River, and Berkeley Township. Portions of the barrier islands like Normandy Beach, Ortley Beach, Dover Beach North, Dover Beach South would be included in that as well. Flyers will be distributed at various checkpoints starting today by our personnel on the ground in those areas as we let people back in to be able to inspect their homes and grab some of their belongings. State roads and transportation. On roads, state roads are clear. DOT handled over 560 road closures between the Sunday night before the storm and today. DOT's primary focus now is continuing to make repairs and remove debris on Route 36 and Route 35 in the Monmouth and Ocean County areas. We've made a lot of progress over the weekend with our public transportation system. As you all know already, PATH trains have resumed access from Newark to 33rd Street beginning this morning at 5 a.m. and are running in both directions. Last night, Amtrak, working with New Jersey Transit, completed testing of the North Hudson River Tunnel that will allow the operation of additional service to New York and along the Northeast Corridor beginning today. This will allow for an expanded combined operation of 24 Amtrak and New Jersey Transit trains per hour in both directions. Also, New Jersey Transit resumed limited service on the Morris and Essex lines, including Midtown Direct service. So, in those areas that we talked about before of how do we define a return to normalcy? Return to normalcy is people having power in their homes, people having gas to put in their cars, their kids back at school, clean water to drink and use, and roads and a transportation system that is up and running. In 4 out of those 5 areas, I think we are back to normal, with the exception of about 30,000 citizens on the barrier islands who are going to be a much longer-term proposition in terms of restoring power, gas, water, because of the destroyed infrastructure in those towns. I will be meeting this week with the utilities and with the mayors of those affected towns to make sure that they understand what plan the utilities have in their minds, and that the mayors of those individual towns and representatives of the county government can have input into those plans as we move forward. The only place where we're still lagging a bit, and it's because of damaged infrastructure, is in our rail services, and a lot of it's not our fault. You know, Amtrak is working hard to try to get its power system back up so that we can run the trains through there at the frequency we always have. In the meantime, we have more expanded free park and ride service and expanded free ferry service into New York City. And I'd urge folks to avail themselves of those services rather than wait in long lines for trains or buses that are not running as efficiently as they normally do because of the increased demand. So use the ferry system. The weather is still okay. Use the ferry system and use the park and ride system to get to the ferries. We've expanded it. It's free. And so you save a few dollars in the meantime as well while we're working our way through the rail portion of this crisis. So in 2 weeks' time, the storm hit with real strength 2 weeks ago today. In 2 weeks' time, with the help of all the people across the state, we've returned to a sense of normalcy in the state. That's why I have the fleece off. You know, I mean, like, we're normal, I got to take the fleece off. Fleece only comes on during abnormal times. So that's my signal to all of you. You all see the fleece, and it isn't that I gave it to the Saturday Night Live people. I still have it. But it's time to go back to work. And it's time to now focus on the task of rebuilding our state. Now, I've been pretty straight with the fact that the rebuilding process is not going to be easy. It's going to be expensive, it's going to be complicated, and it's going to take time. In some instances, it'll take months. In other instances, it may take years. We've all seen the devastation at this point, and you can't recreate overnight communities that took decades to build. The good news is that we're not alone in this process. The reason why we're here today at the FEMA Joint Field Office is because FEMA is an integral part of the rebuilding phase of this process, and this represents our coordinated efforts to provide real assistance and relief to New Jerseyans impacted by the storm. This Joint Field Office will have full-time staffing of both federal and state employees. Representatives of all pertinent departments in my administration will be here on site every day to work hand in hand with the FEMA staff to make sure New Jerseyans are registered, receiving aid, and to answer questions or concerns about navigating this process. We want to make sure we're able to access every available resource, and that is evident in the fact that FEMA also just approved an extension of the 100% cost share for state recovery efforts, granting an additional 5 days of full reimbursement for emergency power restoration and transportation assistance in the hardest hit New Jersey communities. I want to thank the President for his willingness to extend us another 5 days on 100% reimbursement from the federal government. We don't want any opportunity to pass us by in terms of the real relief that our state needs to get rebuilt. The structure here is broken up into 3 areas in order to provide targeted help. First, public assistance. We have teams that will be working with towns, counties, and schools to rebuild public infrastructure. This is a huge undertaking for our communities, which is why we have teams ready to deal with the larger scope of our public infrastructure. Second, individual assistance. We have teams here to work with individuals, homeowners, and renters who need assistance and help. Third, business assistance. We have teams here that deal specifically with small and large businesses in New Jersey and the aid that they can get as well to get back on their feet. While the Joint Field Office is the hub for all the coordinated assistance and activity in response to Hurricane Sandy, there are disaster recovery centers across the state. Right now, there are 16 in 16 different counties. I was assured this morning by FEMA that by the close of the day today, there will be 21 in all 21 counties. They're open daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., with the exception of one in Hoboken operating 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. until further notice. And I'll go through where they are. In Atlantic County, they're in Atlantic City. In Bergen County, Hackensack. Cape May County and Cape May County Courthouse. Cumberland has theirs in Bridgeton. Gloucester has theirs in Clayton. Hudson in Jersey City and Hoboken. Middlesex in Sayreville. Monmouth in Union Beach. In Morris County, Morris Plains. In Ocean County, Brick. In Passaic County, Patterson. In Salem County, Pennsgrove. In Somerset County, Somerville. And in Union County, Springfield. FEMA has, and we'll put out the other sites when they're established later today. FEMA has program specialists at the centers, including mitigation specialists who provide information and answer questions about cost-effective rebuilding and repair techniques to reduce property damage in future potential disasters. In addition, customer service representatives from the SBA, Small Business Administration, are available to answer questions about low-interest disaster loan program and to assist with disaster loan applications. Now, before going to a DRC, it's really helpful to register first. And I haven't gotten to say this in a few days, and so I want to make sure I don't mess it up. 1-800-621-FEMA. 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 Or go to disasterassistance.gov if you prefer going on the web, disasterassistance.gov. Register now if you haven't already. As of Sunday, the total number of people who have registered for assistance is over 190,000 across New Jersey. Total individual and household program dollars approved is now over $127 million that has been approved so far. So now we begin to rebuild. We have help here, so I'm asking everyone to use it. You can count on the fact that I will continue to work in concert with federal, county, and local governments to make sure that we avail ourselves of every resource, every bit of expertise, both currently in government and from those outside of government. Our resilience has always been our biggest strength. And there's a lot of pain and a lot of tears across the state, and I've seen them firsthand over the last 2 weeks. Everywhere I've gone, there have been folks who are really hurting and who feel an enormous sense of loss, as do I. But I've also met these very same people who say, yeah, but we're rebuilding. We're coming back. I absolutely believe that that's their intent. And we want to do it in a smart way, an efficient way, and effective way. We want to work with the Army Corps of Engineers to rebuild our beaches, make sure that this summer the Jersey Shore is active and vibrant, and even though it may not look exactly as it looked before, that it's there for the people of our state to have a respite from the trials of their day-to-day lives, and to continue to create memories for their spouses and for their children. Last thing I want to say is this, because I haven't said this much, if at all, maybe during the last 2 weeks, but I have an incredible team of people. I'm the one who gets to stand behind the microphone and give you all the information that's given and try to rally the troops in New Jersey in the best way that I can. But I can tell you that over the last 2 weeks, I've had a core group of people at the Regional Operations and Intelligence Center that have been extraordinary and have served me extraordinarily well, and as a result have served the people of the state extraordinarily well. I can't obviously name all of them. There's a huge room full of people that represent every area of state government and areas of federal government and local county government as well. But I can say that there's been a core group of people around the table for me who have worked literally every day since 2 weeks ago Friday, without a break, working from early in the morning until really late at night, who have got their own problems, their own families without power, their own children not in school, have all those challenges that all the other New Jerseyans have, but they didn't have time to feel the hurt of that because they understood that they had stepped forward for public service and that they had a job to do. And so I haven't thanked them enough, and I want to thank those folks around that table personally. My chief of staff and my chief counsel, Kevin O'Dowd and Charlie McKenna, who are the two quarterbacks of the effort, have been extraordinary. The lieutenant governor has been an extraordinary partner during this, and the fact that we got the election run as well as it was run last Tuesday under these circumstances, more challenging circumstances than any state in the nation faced on Tuesday, is a great testament to her and to her people. Colonel Fuentes, the leader of the state police and the Office of Emergency Management, he and his men and women have worked nonstop to try to make sure that communication was where it was supposed to be, and they deserve great credit. Commissioner Martin of the DEP, out on the road to wastewater treatment plants, water facilities himself when things got bogged down. It did an extraordinary job to try to keep the environment safe and protected during times when literally 7/8 of the state of New Jersey was without power. Ed Dixon, the Director of Homeland Security and Preparedness, had us ready for this event, participated along with Charlie McKenna in the after-action report we did after Irene that allowed us to make a lot of changes to what we did in Irene to make us better prepared. And he partnered along with the Commissioner of Human Services to shelter the neediest of folks during this time and to keep them safe and warm and fed and medicated. And he and his folks did an extraordinary job. General Kniff of the New Jersey National Guard, this is our first disaster together. I hope it's our last, but not because of his effort and the effort of the 2,100 men and women activated on the New Jersey National Guard who have provided every type of service you can imagine across the state. Most importantly, provided a sense of safety and security to the people of our state at a time when they were very well taxed. His leadership of that group has been extraordinary. We like to have fun. I like to have fun with Jim Simpson, the Commissioner of Transportation. I like to have fun with Jim Simpson publicly because he's just an easy target. And you know me, I love easy targets. But I will tell you, there is nobody more motivated in state government to get something done that people think he can't get done than Jim Simpson. And in a moment of crisis, I couldn't ask for a better transportation commissioner than the guy who gets things done when they need to get done. And if you have any question about that, go look at the road on Route 35 in Maniloki that now is there, that was not there a week ago Friday. He, along with the folks on his team and the National Guard, did an extraordinary job to allow people to have access to their homes again. Mary O'Dowd, the health commissioner, kept the hospitals open and operating. She targeted those that needed generators, that needed fuel, that needed to be evacuated, got them places to go. And you didn't hear one story across the state of people who were in need of medical assistance who didn't get it. And that's a great testimony to Mary and to her people. The guy under the most pressure in this entire thing was the president of the BPU. If Bob got everybody's lights turned on in 24 hours, people would still be pissed. Doesn't matter. If your lights aren't on for 10 minutes, man, you're not happy. And there was no one under more pressure and who was applying more pressure to the utility companies than Bob Hanna. I've worked with him for a decade now. And I didn't know this was going to happen when I asked him to be president of the BPU, but I'm really glad he was here when it did happen because he did an extraordinary job. The Attorney General, Jeff Chiesa, is not here. Since all of you are here, I don't know where Jeff could possibly be. I don't know what press is covering, whatever press conference Jeff's doing now, but whatever. Jeff's not here today, but Tom Calcagni, the first assistant, is here, representing the Department of Law and Public Safety. And they did a great job getting us all the legal rulings we needed to be able to move on the executive orders and other things that we had to do, and also in working with the state police to make sure that New Jersey never had a problem with looting during this period of time. That was a combined effort of the Attorney General's office, the state police, and the New Jersey National Guard to prevent the worst of us from taking advantage of the most vulnerable of us. And I thank Tom for that. Rich Constable, the DCA Commissioner, another core member of the team around the table, interacting with all the towns right from the beginning, communicating with them on a minute-to-minute basis, and making sure that even today we have DCA inspectors out on the barrier islands inspecting homes, home to home, so we can get their electricity turned on and make sure that it doesn't blow their house up in the process. Not relying just on the municipalities and their already overworked inspectors, but bringing state resources to bear and making sure that people were taken care of. He did a great job. I already mentioned Commissioner Velez. My wife asked me the other night how Commissioner Velez was doing through all this. And I said, you know, it's great to have somebody who's such a veteran of all this because she's been through a bunch of these things and served not only in my administration, but in the Corzine administration. And her experience around the table brought a great sense of completeness to what we needed to do. She was always the one asking the difficult question, and I appreciate her leadership through all this. And the treasurer, Andrew Aristoff, who was the guy who was always trying to make sure that things got delivered where they needed to get delivered, that the budget was being taken care of in the way it needed to be taken care of, that we had the resources that we needed. He and his entire staff did an extraordinary job. And that was the core group of folks around the table. In addition, we added 2 folks around the table for special tasks. Regina Agia, my authorities chief, took care of getting schools opened and digging into why schools weren't opening and pushing them to get open and get kids back to school. And having her focus on that was an extraordinary help. And lastly, Michelle Brown, who's the CEO of the EDA, we had fun with her, naming her the Fuel Czarina. She went from a situation when we gave her the job a week ago Friday, where there was not even in this state a complete list of all the gas stations in the state with contact information, to having midnight phone calls with the White House to get fuel moved by FEMA to the National Guard to gas stations so people could get gas again. That's a great team of folks that I've had around me for the last 2 weeks, and the return to normalcy today is a result of their efforts and the leadership they provided for the people underneath them who executed. And so it's been a great group of folks around the table. They've done an extraordinary job for me, not only in the execution of their tasks, but in the communication to the public. And as I was driving here this morning, I realized that I hadn't thought about that, about saying that publicly, and I wanted to make sure that I did as we move into this next phase. So I want to thank Mike Hall from FEMA. Since he's been on the ground, things have been running real smoothly. He's been doing a good job for us, and all the rest of the FEMA folks who are here, you're welcomed to New Jersey under difficult circumstances, but I hope that you'll find the folks here as friendly and direct as any place in America. And sometimes the direct may come before the friendly. So just give it some time. Get through the direct, you'll get to the friendly eventually. Now I want to thank General Bostic, who's here and who has been helping to lead the charge from the Army perspective. I got a chance to meet with him last week for the first time and appreciate his willingness to lead the charge in rebuilding New Jersey's beaches. This is going to be a monumental task for us. We're going to need an enormous assistance from the federal government in terms of money, but we're also going to need the expertise that the Army Corps of Engineers brings as well. If you look at the towns that have had engineered beaches up and down the state, those are the towns whose damage was minimal. And the towns that didn't, the damage was much greater. And I think that's a lesson for us as we move forward, because we're not closing down the New Jersey shore. We're just going to make it safer. And the Army Corps has the ability to do that. And now we need the President and the Congress to step up and make sure that they give them the resources that they need to be able to engineer the beaches from one end of New Jersey to the other so we don't have this kind of disaster again. So thank you all very much, and I'm happy to take questions. Brian?